You didn't want me here, man. You didn't want me here.
No, it wasn't that. I was being a Rudy Poo, man. I didn't know Zach, and I get to going. I'm talking about early signing day. Talked about the defense, but I want to start with you first about this offensive class and early signing day. Any guys that you really like along this offense that LSU has brought in?
Look, obviously, like you have your standouts, Caden Durham, Trey Green. That's kind of like a casual take, in my opinion. I think everybody just knows what they bring to the table. A guy that's kind of a sleeper, in my opinion, who, I mean, his tape is unbelievable, is Joseph Cryer. So if you're looking at kind of like a sleeper guy who's not necessarily rated, like just a crazy high ranking, obviously he was an Ole Miss pledge, so he's had SEC interest from all over. But to get him to flip and get him to come to LSU, in my opinion, is a super big deal. Your offensive line is set for the foreseeable future, but to get Cryer in the mix too, his tape is outstanding. He's a fantastic football player. So that's a sleeper in my opinion that I like on the offensive side of the ball.
Dude, I said this earlier in the show, but you know who another dude along the offense? I think how do I want to say this? I don't want to say my favorite player because he hasn't stepped on campus. I think Caden Durham is an alpha dog.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Just like, besides the fact that Caden Durham's an absolute dog, like I understand recruiting is a tough game. It's a tricky business. It's hard to get all the rankings accurate. But to have him kind of fringe top 10, some might be top 10 composite, might not be. To not have him as like a top 7, top 6 back in America, in my opinion,
it's nuts.
It's a misread, in my opinion. You look at the tape, you look at the numbers, you look at the production at Duncanville, man. Like, you're at a powerhouse in Texas, and you're playing against the best of the best, and he's cutting up every single week. I mean, he's a phenomenal football player, and he showed that in the state championship. What was it, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, and most of that was in the first half, really. So, yeah, man, Caden Durham he's that dude. You have a fantastic running back room.
I met him at DeCorian Moore's.
That's right. You went out there for that.
Yeah. And the dude might have the biggest calves I've ever seen. Now, Zach, we're out there with LSU players. Like, we were out at practice yesterday, okay, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about. That dude's got, like, he makes Noah Cain. And when you see Noah Cain up close, the dude's got, like, I mean, dude's just, I'm paused, but dude's got big calves.
Yeah.
This dude's got like the pointy calves. You know how when you got so much muscle, like the calf, it's like a mountain. This dude, 24/7. I'm like, man, this guy can play. He's really good. We'll see how it goes. I think another guy that we need to talk about too in this class we hadn't mentioned yet, I think arguably has the highest upside potentially, is one of the offensive linemen in Weston Davis. Zach, it wasn't the football film that stood out to me. It was it's the basketball tape. He's Emory Jones.
BK kind of hit on that a little bit today because he loves his versatile, like, two-sport offensive lineman. Right. And when you look at somebody like Weston Davis, I mean, he's a stud in every way, shape, and form. He's kind of light on his feet, tremendous footwork, upper body is extremely advanced. That's a player. I mean, look, he's a 5-star status for a reason. So we could sit here and say, he's going to be a dog. At this point in the game, you got to expect that he's going to be a dog. Like, the tape doesn't lie. The rankings sometimes lie. But I think
they lie.
But like I was just saying about Caden Durham. So, look, I'm not going to contradict myself here. I think Weston Davis, you're getting an absolute stud. And I kind of put something out earlier. Is you get your third 5-star in 3 years in a row. 2022, you got Will Campbell. 23, you got Lance Hurd. Now you got Weston Davis. And starts in the trenches. And Brad Davis is just doing a phenomenal job on the recruiting trail.
We are not – because if this were defense – right. If he were the defensive line coach, we would be like putting this man on a pedestal.
Yeah.
But because he's the offensive line coach, we're not. And he learned from one of the best offensive line coaches. Maybe you talk to some people. Sam Pittman is one of the best offensive line coaches maybe ever.
Fair.
Dude, I don't worry about it. It's the reverse Miles. I worry about the defensive line, okay, the defense, and I don't worry about what you're doing in offense. Look what you're doing in the trenches, dude. Like, you're building here. Like, he's going to be a guy. This dude can play now. And you know what else is crazy, Zach? The basketball tape, he, like, you know how when Shaq would dunk and he would kind of like bring his knees to like his chest and like
swing up,
swing up, you know, and then the ball would kick off.
Oh yeah.
He did that the other night in a state playoff game or some shit.
Straight off 2 feet, straight vertical. This dude's an athletic specimen. Like you're getting a freak. Like this kid's an absolute freak. And like you said,
oh my God,
you're building an offensive juggernaut in Baton Rouge, and I'm super impressed. I'm super impressed with what they're doing. I know a lot of the narratives and a lot of the naysayers or whatever are going to say, oh, you know, this isn't an outstanding class. It doesn't have like that pop, that flavor. In my opinion, you're getting a lot of solid pieces who can, you know, step in if you need them to. It's obviously not that. You don't have a significant amount of 5 stars, you know, not a lot of high 4 stars, but in my opinion, you're getting some productive, solid pieces that can, you know, give you that extra step long-term if need be.
Biggest thing you took away from BK today?
You know what I'm going to say.
Interior defensive lineman.
Absolutely. Wow, I look so tired. I've been up since 5:45, man. It's been a long day. I know you have been too.
I know. I tweeted, by the way, at 6 a.m. from Rafino and Joe show that your boy was about to flip out there in Georgia. Nobody wanted to listen to old Blake.
People say what they want to say. But getting back to what you said, yeah, man, the biggest takeaway for me is certainly going to be what he was talking about, the interior defensive line. It sounds to me like you're trending in the right direction of getting somebody like a Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo back. It certainly sounded like that was the verbiage, like the language that he was speaking. Obviously, nothing's set in stone until those 2 guys come out and say it on their own. So it's not like we're sitting over here and presenting something that isn't, you know, out there yet. Nothing's official till they put the word out. And I know you're building something. I think I love what they're bringing in and shown. I think he's a fantastic player. I saw you said something a little bit ago about, you know, Jordan Jefferson as well, if he has another year of eligibility. I don't know if he has another year of eligibility.
He only played in 1 game.
I know.
In 2020, I think it was. So, and then I saw that he had redshirted.
Right. So you're thinking he could get that 6th year of eligibility, and it's a high possibility. He might. But that's something to keep an eye on, and certainly something that we could ask around and try to figure out as well.
Yeah, I mean, he would be Josh Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Josh Williams. So, I mean, he's the super senior. This would be the last year the super senior.
And I think that's something that you need. Obviously, like Mekhi Wingo he's a true leader. He came into the locker room when he transferred in from Missouri, and he took the locker room by storm. Everybody respected him, and that's why he got the coveted number 18 jersey. But to keep as many old heads as you can in the locker room, just to keep that camaraderie and, you know, have a leader in the locker room is really key to me. So I'd love to see somebody like Jordan Jefferson stick around, man.
I would too. Thoughts on the defensive early signing day before we talk about a little practice? What did you talked about? Dude, I like Joel Rogers a lot. I think he's a guy that we have not talked about enough in this class because the kid doesn't say anything. He's not flashy. You know, like today I saw like he's wearing khaki shorts or khaki pants and he's got a shirt tucked in. Like he's all business. He reminds me of Brandon Taylor. Now I played with Brandon at Franklinton. They're the same dude. All right. And so like the same kind of, hey, I ain't going to talk. I ain't going to say nothing, but I'm going to come in here and knock your head off.
Yeah.
I like Joel. Player. Yeah. What are some guys that you like along the defense?
It's going to be Devon Keys at the linebacker position. Super productive guy in Texas. You know, he played at Aledo. It's a really competitive schedule that they play on a routine basis, kind of like what I was saying about Caden Durham. Not to sound like a broken record, but you look at somebody like Caden Durham, and he dominated against the best of the best in Texas. And then you look at somebody like Keys, who is a very versatile sideline-to-sideline linebacker. He's very smart, shoots the gap well. I'm a big fan of what Keys brings to the table. And obviously long-term at the linebacker position, you're going to lose somebody like Harold Perkins. Greg Penn won't be here forever. So, and Omar Spates, you know, same. Well, I won't talk about Omar Spates, but you sit here and you get somebody like Keys, and you're getting a player. I think this is a guy who can be a dude long-term. So when I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball, that sticks out like a sore thumb. And then the cornerbacks, you know, you're trying to revamp this position group for the long haul. And I think Juwan Johnson's going to be a guy who might take some time to get into that groove. But you have some dogs coming in the secondary as well. So I like what they did, man. You're locking down this Louisiana talent. You're locking down the Louisiana culture. And you got 8 of the 10 top 10 players in the state, 10 of the top 12. So Brian Kelly's putting a border around Louisiana on the recruiting trail. And it's going to pay off long term. It's a culture builder for sure.
Massive takeaways from you yesterday from practice.
I love Javian Toviano and Ashton Stamps taking first-team cornerback reps.
I thought Stamps won the day.
He had that amazing play on the right side of the field on that deep ball from Garrett Nussmeier. He had the pick, came down, hit the ground, and dropped it. But obviously it was a standout play. You had the sideline rocking. So to see him do something like that was significant to me. And, obviously Sage Ryan being back in the fold is fantastic. Obviously a lot of people say what they want about Sage Ryan, but, to keep a Louisiana guy in town or keep him in Baton Rouge and do what you can is super important to me. So I'm glad he's sticking around. So those are my takeaways. And then Garrett Nussmeier, obviously, controlling the pace. He looks like a leader. He looks like he's poised to take that next step in the locker room. So super impressed. Obviously, short media viewing, but you take away what you can.
Well, yeah. I mean, he used to give us an hour and a half, 2 hours. Now he's giving us 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'll take that. O didn't give a shit. He gave us 15 minutes for warm-ups.
We were talking about that the other day too.
Listen, they were out there, and look, this wasn't no pity pat, stay up, don't get hurt. They were out there tackling. Like they were playing. Like they weren't playing around. The offense did some good things. Garrett Nussmeier did some good things. I thought, I called him Franklin D. Roosevelt last night because he was out there dropping dimes. Okay.
Oh.
Franklin D. Roosevelt's on the dime, just so you okay, all right. Thought they looked good. But I gotta tell you, defense was pissed off. Like, I mean, I had not seen them play that hard either in camp or any game whatsoever. Dude, they were out there popping yesterday. A little surprised that the defense had a little edge to them.
No, and I think that's the correct answer. I think this defense needs to play pissed off, like you said. It was just a defeating year for them, and you got one last chance to prove that you can play ball at the highest level. So you might as well take all the opportunities you can during these 15 bowl practices and carry it into the Wisconsin game as well. So show that you got some fight in you, end the season on a high note. And I loved watching the one-on-ones. Obviously, the receivers kind of stole the show for the most part there. Chris Hilton, in my opinion, looked fantastic, as did Shelton Samson. But kind of sticking on what you said on the defensive side of the ball, play pissed off, do what you can. You got some players. I love seeing Whit Weeks on the field. Obviously, it was a mixed bag this year. You saw him sometimes, you didn't see him the rest. You just didn't know what you were going to get on a week-by-week basis. We're Whit Weeks fans over here, and I love watching him play ball, so it was nice to see him get some significant reps under his belt in practice.
I was telling, I think, Wilson this when we were standing there watching Wilson Alexander. Trey Holly was running with the ones. They were rotating the backs in and out. It was, I think Logan Diggs was actually the only back that didn't run with the ones, at least not that I remember. Trey Holly, inside dive, runs right up the middle, okay? And you're talking about a really good offensive line, a really good offensive line that's done some really good things all year. And, bro, they were hitting, and then they were getting – because he only ran the ball for 2 yards. They're getting up in his face. They're, I had never this year, not once, not even in preseason, okay? Like, the dog came out a little bit yesterday. And so I was like, hold on now. And now, I don't want – I'm saying that I didn't say this last night because I wanted somebody to be here who was there with us. Like, you were there. Like, I'm not making this shit up now, okay? They were popping, and I'm like, okay. Like, where's this been?
That's what you want to see, and that's what we've been waiting for. Obviously, it wasn't the year that we wanted.
Zach, they had swag yesterday.
Show some dog, show some fight, show some swag, like you said, and it's nice to see. Obviously, small sample size. We want to see it against Wisconsin, but yeah, I mean, they were popping each other. They were getting each other's grills. It was good to see. It's what we've been kind of waiting to see for a little bit now.
The last thing that I had on this topic with you, like literally it's on my paper, like now go show it, like now go show exactly. Like I saw that you can do it yesterday. And let me ask you this. I lied. You surprised they're playing bump and run man-to-man coverage on the outside? And not only that, it would be one thing if Ashton Stamps almost caught a pick in man-to-man coverage on Shelton Samson. Dog, he's locked. And team period. Did Brian Thomas Jr. have a catch? Because I don't think he had a catch.
Not that I can remember. But to answer your question, they're like, no. I feel like a lot of the people were sitting back saying, like, why are we playing 15 yards off the ball? Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? So to see him bumping like that, it's a step
bump and run man to man, brother.
It's a step in the right direction. This is everything that people have been wanting to see, and we got to see it firsthand. So no, I'm not surprised. These are changes that should have been made maybe midway through the year, maybe. But here we are. It's better late than never, I suppose.
I ain't gonna lie, it kind of pissed me off a little.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm sitting here.
All right. And look, they signed 4 corners today. I think Brian Kelly's more excited. He's gotten high school corners than anything.
Yeah,
like high number of them. Like that's the thing that I think he was like really, really excited about. That's where I want to go to next. Brian Kelly said today in his press conference that, and I'm paraphrasing, so sue me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to build this team through a lot of high school guys, and I feel extremely confident that we can develop. Like, okay, so, but he'll still go on the portal and get dudes. Like, he wants to win. Do you buy him on – not buy him, that's not a good way to ask it. Like, hey, man, you're at the 85 – over the 85 scholarship limit now, Zach. I mean – you're going to have to might cut a dude or two loose here. He's not playing when he talks about, I want to bring in 27, 28 guys from high school.
In my opinion, kind of based off what you're saying, his spiel, his take has always been, if he's going to hit the transfer portal, he's going to look at players with, 1, multiple years of eligibility, and 2, he likes his Louisiana guys. And those are kind of the 2 pieces of criteria that he's dove into for the 2 years he's been here. So he's entering his 3rd offseason with the program, and he's sticking to the narrative. He doesn't want to do 1-year rentals. Obviously, 1 or 2 won't hurt you, but backtracking to what you said, the goal is to develop through the high school ranks. You bring in true freshmen, and you trust your player development program, and it's what he's harped on since he's gotten to Baton Rouge, and it's something that he truly believes in, because you can't keep, every single year you can't bring in a new squad. You can't bring in a new secondary, because continuity is real. It takes time to form that, and in the SEC, especially now with an expanded SEC, you're not going to be able to get away with, as much as you have in the past. So I think it's important to build through the high school ranks. It's something that he's harped on. And like I said, man, like a broken record, trust your player development. And he's certainly been one to harp on that.
What else have I missed on? I feel like I'm missing something big here that I hadn't asked you.
National Signing Day was a success. Obviously, no drama. It's nothing crazy. You're going to sit back and wait and see what Cohen Eccles does on Friday. Obviously, that's your quote unquote surprise play. Whatever happens there, you're not missing anything. Whatever happens. You got your 5 offensive linemen. It's always nice to add more bodies in the trenches. But you had no surprises. You went 27 for 27. You went perfect. You batted 1,000, and you got all your guys. None of them went on official visits. Nobody went on unofficial visits the last weekend of that before the dead period, essentially. So look, you killed National Signing Day. You handled business. Practice was a success yesterday. You saw Garrett NM control it. Shelton Samson and the receivers looked pretty solid. And I use Shelton Samson because obviously he had that one drop, but I like the route running. I liked everything that he did. But
separating, he's separating from dudes.
Yeah, you know what? The last 24 hours.
You know what's very interesting about Shelton Samson, at least to me, is remember. I don't want to say bad.
Mm-hmm.
He was not ready. He was not ready to come in here. Okay, in my opinion, and play it all this year.
Completely agreed. And what do you think about the Terrace Marshall comparison that everybody kind of throws out there?
I like that a lot.
Because he wasn't necessarily ready then, too. It took a couple steps.
But when Brian Kelly talked about development today, like we can bring guys in here and we're going to develop them.
Right.
How can you make the argument? You cannot argue me that Shelton Samson didn't take a massive leap yesterday from the last time that we saw him in practice.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think you have to give all the credit in the world to Cortez Hankton. He's a fantastic coach. He's a fantastic recruiter. And obviously you've seen what he can develop. The proof's in the product. So to see Shelton Samson, take that next step, like you said, it was an impressive day for him. Obviously he had that one drop in the back corner of the end zone. Whatever. It is what it is. Your hands will develop, in my opinion. But the route running, it was crisp. Getting off his break was impressive. So I'm a big fan of Shelton, and I think he had a really good day at the office yesterday.
Garrett Nussmeier. Well, let me ask you last question. Garrett Nussmeier, thoughts?
I'm a fan of Garrett Nussmeier. I like his game. I like that you're bringing in Swan to push him. I think it's great competition. You needed that extra body. You and I have talked about that in the past. You can't rely on, Colin Harley's coming in at 16 years old. It'll take time. Ricky Collins isn't there yet. He's a guy who's going to thrive in the player development system alongside Joe Sloan, because Joe Sloan is a fantastic player development quarterback coach. So you needed somebody to come in and be that reliable backup in case something happens, and you got that in Swan. Sticking on the Nussmeier subject, though, look, I feel like this offseason is obviously going to be tremendous for him, a casual take. Get the locker room under your belt. continue to develop decision-making, develop that IQ. I think him getting all the attention from Joe Sloan is going to be fantastic. I like Garrett Nussmeier. He's a gunslinger. I know he hates that narrative, but he throws that thing. He's not scared. I think he's going to be ready. I think spring ball is going to be a huge telling sign for all of us. And yes, Jason Baker. I did say Colin Harley will arrive at 16 years old on campus. He won't turn 17 for a couple more months.
Yeah, right. Ricky Collins.
I think Ricky Collins is a dynamic quarterback who needs more time in the system to hit his stride. I think his throwing motion's improving. I think his footwork's improving. I think him and Joe Sloan are going to be best friends this offseason because
they better be.
because there's some throws that he could have made yesterday that he didn't make. He's a work in progress.
They were there too. And Zach, he
struggled in 11 on 11. He did.
Right. He struggled bad.
And that's why I kind of hinted at AJ Swan, it's so important to get him on campus and start to develop in this system. Ricky Collins is going to be a work in progress. It's going to take time. He's a fantastic quarterback. He's super athletic, but he's not SEC game ready yet for impactful snaps. And this offseason, again, is going to be super important in the quarterback room.
He's Robbie Ashford.
That's a really – I don't hate that take at all.
Yeah, he's Robbie Ashford.
I don't hate that take at all.
Robbie Ashford does the same Jordan Thompson.
Yep.
Deep elbow, back in the pocket. And it's the timing that's killing him. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's necessarily the processing. Like, I can't put together if it's the processing that's the issue or the delivery is the issue because
it's both. It's both. He's still advancing to the game. It's taking time for him, I think. And I think it's going to take time for him to hit his stride. And that's why another offseason is going to be super crucial for him to process everything as quickly as possible, develop that throwing motion, make it quicker and tighter under Joe Sloan. I think it's going to be super important, but carry on.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. Michael Morris sends a $4.99 super chat. Says Colin Harley, I believe, was a 5-star in the 2025 class until he reclassified. I think he's getting a bad rap, be honest with you. I think a lot of people were down on him. Michael, thank you for the super chat. I do agree that I think some people were down on him, Zach. I got to be real with you. I think he can come in here day one and push Ricky Collins. Like because of – did you see that kid spin it in the All-American game? Because I did.
I did. He was impressive. And he competed in the Elite 11 finals too. Like, he's done.
Well, the kid – the thing I'm trying to just say here is the kid can throw. Like, he's a natural football thrower. Like, he wakes up and can throw up 200 passes. It's not going to bother him.
Completely agree.
So, we'll see, man. We'll see. All right, Zack Nagy. I didn't even say where you – but you got Sports Illustrated behind you. LSU Country with us. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We will not see you. I said last time in case but this time I will not see you into the new year. At least not on this show. Tell everybody where they can get your stuff, everything you're doing.
Yeah, LSU Country on Sports Illustrated. You can catch us on Twitter. Put out a bunch of content every day. Too much content at times. I've been pumping out some stuff lately, but football, basketball, recruiting. We're really big on recruiting right now, obviously. It's that time of the year, but transfer portal news, you name it. If it's got LSU behind it, we're pumping it out. So check out LSU Country, putting out a lot of good stuff. Twitter, Facebook, search us up on Google. And then obviously you got my handle right there, Zack Nagy. It's at ZNagy20. Putting out some stuff every single day, just putting out as much content as possible. And it's been a long month, man. Transfer portal news has been crazy, but it's been super productive. So I appreciate you, Blake, and obviously happy holidays. Let your family know I asked about them.
Thanks, man. And thank you for a great football season.